Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives right after important news. Today, we're going to talk about like 3 or 4 pieces of big important news. They all came out of Datametrex, trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the stock symbol DM, for our friends in the US under DTMXF, and for our friends in Europe under D4G. With us, Marshall Gunter, CEO of the company. You guys know what they do. They got 2 great sides of business. The first side of the business is the artificial intelligence side, which is focused on social media detection and discovery of fake news, disinformation campaigns. Clients have included the Canadian federal government, the U.S. Air Force, even Lotte, the $2.6 billion South Korean multinational conglomerate. That side of the business is what gave birth to the other side, thanks to the company's security clearances that enabled them, when the government of Canada came calling, to start importing test kits, selling and distributing them. And that's turned into a fantastic business as a second part. More than just lip service, the third quarter were records. Recognized revenue there was $4.9 million for the third quarter, $7.6 million for the 9 months ended 2020. Hitting out of the park. Marshall, Happy New Year. Welcome back.
Hey, George, glad to be on the show again.
Hey, glad to have you. I mean, you and I spoke in December doing a Europe roundup. That was great, and here we are, and you've put out 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of really great material news. So you've been busy. I don't think you took a break. Let's get to those, okay?
Sure.
First one, you announced that, and I'm reading the headline, you sold over 23,000 on-site tests for the film industry at locations in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver, and that's going to bring about $4 million in top line revenue to Q4. So that alone's almost matching Q3. How did this come about? Why did they select your on-site test as opposed to other competitors?
Well, this has been in the works for quite some time. So we've been in talks with production industry since last summer. Okay, before, when the production industry was trying to figure out, how are we going to open, what are we going to do with the COVID crisis, et cetera. So we were in the talks very early with them. And the way we were able to get in touch is we have contacts that have been working in that vertical for, decades. And so it's all about, making those connections and then, getting the business going. So that's how it started. But again, it's just like any other business. They're not going to jump in, full force with a vendor that they don't know. Okay, so one of these productions, they'll give us 1 show, or maybe they'll give us 2 small shows, and then when we prove our mettle there, then they say, okay, now we've got 4 more. So that's what we're seeing here, is that growth factor, right? And that's continuing into Q1. So we're getting more and more shows from the different production companies as they see that we can execute, we can keep them on track, and we can keep their businesses open.
Well, that's a question I wanted to ask you. Which is, film and production keeps going. So do you expect this to be kind of repetitive? Like, if I'm a film crew or a TV production crew, if I need 1,000 test kits this month, I'm going to need 1,000 next month and 1,000 next month. So do you see this kind of progressing and, as you said, even growing month over month?
Yeah, it is growing month over month.
Wow.
And so it's definitely progressing. It's not a matter of seeing it we're watching it. Like, we're opening new shows, as we speak, right? And so the way, you asked a question, why Datametrex? Well, I think there's 2 key things. Number one, we're able to adapt to their way of working, because every one of these shows, and whether it's TV shows, movies, whatever, they have a different way of working. And I'll give you some examples. Like, some shows like to go in and test from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and be done, and that's it.
Right.
Other shows, because of the way their scheduling works and things like that, have to start at 8, and they have to trickle people through all day and can't be done until 6 p.m. Other shows, there's some shows that only work at night.
Yeah, a lot of shows.
Of the time, right? The shows that have like I don't know, the vampires and things like that, right? The 90% of the time they're shooting at night, and they all have different systems set up. So we're able to go in and kind of get in there and just blend in. So we can do the COVID testing, and we're not a problem. We're out of the way, and we're adaptable. And the second thing is we guarantee results, and they're getting them. And this is the biggest one: is these industries, they need results within, say, next day, because they have obligations to the Screen Actors Guild, to the Teamsters Union, et cetera. And when you're working with other people, they can't guarantee that. We can do it. And then when they see that we can back that up, that's when they say, okay, now can you take these other shows, and can you take a few more over here? And then they say, well, now we've got a show in Montreal. Would you like to, what can you do about that? Or we've got one coming up in Calgary. Do you have an offering there? And so, it just keeps expanding and expanding.
Yeah, and that's the differentiator, because you'd start off the answer originally with relationships. Relationships get you in the door, but at the end of the day, you got to win the business still. And that's the way you win the business. That's what I was looking for, because I didn't know, because I know there are other competitors out there. We know they're competitors.
Absolutely.
And they must have been vying for this, but having that ability to deliver and having the ability to be flexible, that's a business differentiator. We won't see it until the financials come out, but generally speaking, is that business decent margin? How do you see the margins on business like that?
Oh yeah, they're great margins. And when we report our numbers, you'll see it. So you can even look at the Q3 numbers and you can see it. So the Q3, record quarter for us. And it's the first time, after a EBITDA that we're in the black, like the first time. So that's just going to continue through Q4. And like I said, there's more stuff starting up now in Q1.
Well, part of that is, let's hop on to the next press release that you put out. You're providing COVID-19 testing for Air Canada frontline and in-flight employees. So first of all, congratulations, because when you're a small cap company that's able to land, an agreement, contract, sales agreement with one of Canada's largest companies, that's no easy feat. So congratulations. Same question there. I'm going to have two questions for you. First of all, which is, how did you win that one? And I'm assuming it's not the same as the film industry, because they have a different set of needs. Whereas the film industry's schedule is completely unpredictable. If anything, airlines are completely predictable. So I want to find out the different reasons how you won there. And two, could that lead to, we know that airlines are having a major problem with passengers are either stranded because they can't get COVID-19 tests to get back in the country, or with these new regulations, will need to have people tested before they get on planes. And wondering if Air Canada, if you guys are having discussions and maybe extend to that.
So again, it's a very similar story. As soon as all this started back in, not as soon as it started, but back in the middle of the summer, we were in touch with Air Canada as everybody's trying to figure out what to do. And the testing for their pilots and staff came about because they're running certain routes that are now requiring this for the pilots and stuff to enter the country. Like, so if you want to say fly to Hong Kong or say Brazil or wherever they're going, they're requiring that these crew have a COVID test at least 24 hours before. So this brings us back to the ability to execute. We can get that done, and it's, believe it or not, sometimes you'd think that this would be more predictable, but in some cases it's more hectic. And I'll give you some examples. When the routes are going to run, okay, that's fine. So that part's predictable. But then when a guy gets tested, or a pilot or somebody gets tested on a Wednesday, he's supposed to leave Thursday morning, and then Wednesday night, in the middle of the night, he's sick. And Air Canada calls up and says, I need a pilot tested for a route by 9 a.m. We've got to get in there and make it happen.
Even if they're in Hong Kong, are you talking we have a global network? If the pilots,
no, not in Hong Kong, but like we only do it originating here.
Okay, got it.
We don't have a place in Hong Kong, but there are these last minute needs that come in. So again, it's the ability to execute that really differentiates us in there. And as far as expansion is concerned, it very well could lead to some other things, but as it does, we'll be reporting this and we'll be putting it in the press, and as soon as it's material, everybody will know. And we're just saying, working with it, and we'll have to see how it unfolds as far as the testing is concerned.
I'm going to assume here, and this is my assumption, that these airlines are almost compelled to get a testing system down for their passengers. Otherwise, A, if I just can't get a test done, I just can't fly. Black and white, period. Right?
Yeah, that's what it's moving to. So there's a lot of work behind the scenes going towards, setting those types of things up. And like I said, as that materializes and becomes more concrete, we'll be putting news out about it.
Okay.
The thing is, but we're just now starting to see the world coalesce around this testing. So this is going to unfold. I think you'll see a rapid expansion of this worldwide, especially now as it's getting ready to be like vacation time for a lot of people wanting to go to, say, the Caribbean, people are wanting to go to, Hawaii. Hawaii actually just put measures in place to allow people onto the island using, PCR testing before they leave. I know that PAHO, the Pan American Health Organization, is in the process of putting their requirements together to open up all of the Caribbean. So you can have, one test that'll cover you for the entire thing, which will open up, airlines, it'll open up, cruise ships as they dock between islands, right? You won't have to get tested every single island. You can have one test and go through there as long as you're behaving. But all this is going to unfold. And as it does, we'll be ready.
Well, look, the proof's in the pudding, right? If you're already doing the Air Canada frontline and in-flight employees, I mean, that's big third-party validation. So can't wait to see how that unfolds. You're also continuing to grow the business. You've got the company. You've got two other press releases. The first one is, I really like this one, a binding letter of intent to acquire Concierge Medical Consultant. And I'm going to read who they are for people at home, but this is what I like. They're a fully developed telehealth and urgent medical care platform. They launched in January 2018, and they're generating revenue right now through a direct-to-consumer subscription model, which is where I think the world is going. But that's also for homes and workplaces. So tell us about Concierge a little bit more, and strategically, why are you making the acquisition?
So we have worked with the people that built Concierge throughout the COVID epidemic right now to provide all kinds of different services behind the scenes. So we knew them. And when they said that they're setting up a telehealth platform, and then, we said, okay, that's good. So let's see how it goes. And then it took off. And we looked at that and we said, you know what, this is something that we've been discussing behind the scenes for quite some time. What does this part of the business look like? And what does it look like going forward? But it also fits, not just a strategic need, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. It fits a tactical need right now. And we're getting requests from a lot of our clients about, can we speak to medical personnel, over a Zoom call? Okay. We actually get a lot of this from, say, out of country clients. So for instance, you talk about the production industry. There's a lot of Americans that are here to do the productions. We get a lot of requests for them. Can we see a doctor over a Zoom call, right? So we've gotten a lot of those. And up till now, the answer was no, we can't provide that service. And now it is, yes, we can provide that service. We're going to be able to do that. Give it, take a look. But more importantly, in a long-term play, we have a very good idea how this could be married and work with our artificial intelligence systems.
Really?
So, yeah. And we're going to be unfolding that more and more as it goes. But it's, it's our belief that as, medicine progresses, this is going to be more common, right? People are not going to go to see their medical provider, for a variety of issues. Okay. So if you're describing, the flu or something like that, you can, if you've got a thermometer at your house, you can show the doctor, you can see them over the video call, and then they can, tell you what to do, maybe give you a prescription or whatever, and you never have to go to the clinic. But the telehealth industry is going to expand tremendously. COVID is reshaping our society in ways that we can't, nobody could have imagined a year ago. But that, coupled with our artificial intelligence, is where we really want to see this go. This is more of a strategic play, but again, it fits both needs. So we can use it right now, and going forward, we're going to see, and we'll be sharing more of this as it becomes more concrete and we start rolling it out. But we feel that this is going to be a very, very good marriage of tech and medicine as it goes forward.
And that acquisition is expected to close before the end of January, so you're not too far, subject to the typical due diligence.
That's correct.
I'm going to be really interested to learn. You look, because I've been around for so long, had hundreds of clients. There pretty much isn't a business I don't understand, nor a business whose inference and dominoes I don't understand. I'm going to be curious to hear how the artificial intelligence side of the business connects to the telehealth. I'm already started thinking, is the artificial intelligence going to be used to monitor social media to know that there's a breakout of something going on in Calgary or in South Korea, and as a result, you push telehealth resources towards those places and let people know, hey, if you're not feeling great, here's what's happening. You might want to talk to one of our medical professionals over telehealth. Is that kind of where you might be going?
Well, there's a number of different ways, but I mean, just as a validator, think about this: the militaries now are doing remote surgeries using robotics. This is already in the news. So a doctor in, say, New York can perform a surgery on somebody that's in the field in, say, Iran. This already exists, right? So it's moved beyond just telehealth. They're doing remote surgical procedures. But think about how efficient it could be. And this is just, something that we're talking about. If you have an artificial intelligence system that can assist your medical staff in doing diagnosis and things like that, what kind of throughput could you get? What kind of, how much faster would it be? If you call up, you describe your symptoms, then the AI takes it, they nail it down, they present it to the medical professional, and they're able to, diagnose it within a few minutes. These are just some of the things that, could be going forward. But we're at the very precipice of this type of, marriage of these types of technologies. And you're going to see AI move into more and more and more of your life. I mean, it's inevitable. And so this is just, we've got one foot in the medical side, we've got one foot in the AI side. There's no reason why we shouldn't be playing to both of those strengths.
Well, the thesis at Agoracom is that, and we've been saying this online for a couple of years, is that this decade will create more wealth from small cap disruptive tech companies than the last two, maybe the last 3 decades combined, because you have the convergence of AI and 5G and IoT and all of these things, telehealth, that are now affordable, granular. So you saying that, yeah, I agree with that. When you say the marriage of artificial intelligence, absolutely. And that's what makes companies like Datametrex so exciting going forward.
That's what we're looking for.
Last question is, and this came out of nowhere, I actually wasn't aware of this, but Ronin Blockchain is a subsidiary of the company that I wasn't aware of. And look, for good reason, right? Because you've had great businesses going, so that's just the way it goes. But it's a crypto mining, it's a cryptocurrency mining platform, and you're now going to be reviewing it, I guess. Bring it back in, look at potentially bring it back into operation. What's the status of Ronin? How long do you think it'll take for you to make some kind of a determination as to whether you bring it back to life?
Well, it's not necessarily whether or not we bring it back to life. Let me just tell you what we're doing. So with Ronin, prior to me being on board, the company took about an $11 million write-down. Okay, and it's still there, right? So it's just sitting there doing nothing but being a very large black spot on the books, right? So what I've done is we've created a committee to look at what can be done with Ronin. What are the options? And the reason we did it this way is, I wanted the committee to take that and run with it, because the people on the ground, running the company day to day, we need to stay focused on our business, our main businesses, our artificial intelligence business.
There's so much you can
focused on the COVID business. Both of these are moving forward at light speed, and we do not want to disrupt that. So this is an opportunity for us to, re-examine that, figure out what we can do with it, and to get that black mark off our books, and move things from there, from the red to the black. I mean, and really just maximize the return for shareholders. So let's get rid of that write down. It's not necessarily, hey, we're going to turn it on, or hey, we're going to reboot it, or hey, we're going to do this. Is create the committee, examine the options, present the options to executive staff, and then we'll look at what we can do with this asset as we sit in here. Instead of being a drag on the company, can it be something else? That's just the play. It's an examination period. It's something we're going to have to deal with at some point, so we might as well do it now. We've got the committee that's willing to do it, and again, it will to do it without distracting our focus.
Yeah,
right?
that's so important.
So it's all about maximizing return on value to our shareholders, right? So let's see what we can do with it. We'll get some good options on the table, and then we'll move forward.
Let me ask you just 30 seconds about the tech behind the mining, because there are some cryptocurrency miners that have fantastic tech, and they're able to really generate great revenue and a margin out of it. And some cryptocurrency mining, they're just struggling along, exchanging 4 quarters for $1 at the end of the day. Now, given the technology prowess of Datametrex, of you guys, I'm going to presume that you've got great software in there. But can you give us just an indication of how competitive that platform may be?
Well, at this point, the question is going to be not how competitive the platform is going to be as it exists. The question that I asked of the committee, specifically regarding this, because again, this one predates me a little bit, right? Is how competitive could that be, given where we are now and the technical chops that we have on the team? So that's one of the things they're going to have to assess. And once they have that assessment, that'll go in as possibly an option. Who knows? If they come back and say it's non-competitive, then it's not an option, right? But we'll see as the committee rolls through this, and as they do some investigation into it, we'll have more to say about it. But again, we've got to do something with it. Let's get that black mark off our books. Let's maximize the return value to shareholders, and let's do it in a way that's non-disruptive to our core businesses right now. And that's exactly what we're doing.
Marshall, every time we speak, you've accomplished amazing things every time we speak. Last time we spoke, you had that record Q3. That was a big part of it. And now, you sold 23,000 on-site tests to the film industry. You're providing testing for Air Canada frontline and in-flight employees, a binding LOI to acquire Concierge Medical. Congratulations on how fast you keep moving this company forward. And I can't wait to have you on again. But I'm going to leave last word to you to talk to shareholders about, whatever you want to end off with.
Well, I just want to say thanks to everybody for sticking it out for a year. I mean, it's been rough. I think the first interview I did with you, George, we were, I think, at $0.015.
Yeah, there was $0.015.
And there was a lot of work to do, and so now we're up 17 cents or so, something like that. And we're in a much better financial position. So for everybody that stuck it out, for everybody that believed in us, I just wanted to say thanks, and we're going to continue to work on your behalf and try and do great things.
And I think I speak on behalf of shareholders, Marshall, when I say, A, you're welcome. B, it has been that hard to stick it out, given the kind of news you've been delivering since the start of 2020, when you and I first kind of started together. You guys as a team, and you obviously as the tip of the spear, just keep pushing the company along with great results. Q3 is a record. Q4, I don't know if it's going to be a record yet, but just on the film and TV COVID test that you sold, that's $4 million revenue on its own. And Q3 is 4.9. So, I'm assuming most likely you're going to beat it. And even if you don't, that's still a fantastic, range to be in. So thanks for everything you've done for the shareholders, and can't wait to see what the next month brings out of this company, let alone the next year.
All right. Thanks for having me again, George.
For everyone at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast, either on Spotify, Google, Apple, or your favorite podcast platform, to Marshall Gunter, CEO of Datametrex, Datametrex AI. I gotta make sure I don't leave that part out because it's so important. Trades on the TSX Venture Exchange on the stock symbol DM. For our friends in the US, DTMXF, and for friends in Europe, D4G. The rest of this, guys, the due diligence is now up to you. We know for those of you who are new, and that's going to be a lot of you because the story keeps growing and keeps spreading. Here's how you do your due diligence. Get to Agoracom, take a look at the profile page there. We've got this all neatly laid out for you so you can really wrap your mind around what the company's doing because they are doing amazing things. The second thing is, if you're new to the story, go into the broadcast center of Agoracom. Same thing, just search for the company's name or stock symbol and watch at least the last 3 interviews that we've done with Marshall, if not more, if you've got time to watch, or while you're walking, while you're driving, listening. Look, we have a lot of time with these lockdowns, so do your due diligence because the company just keeps moving forward, and we want to make sure you've done your due diligence so you don't say one day that we didn't tell you so. All right. Have a great day. Thank you. See you next time.